Friends, the information I will be covering in this video stands out to me as being more indicative of the specific time of the rapture than any other I have presented on this channel to date. In other words, I am more excited about this information's capacity to tell us approximately when the rapture is than I have been about any other. So I can't really overstate the importance of this video. Please watch all the way to the end. You will be glad that you did. Genesis 1:14 says, "And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years." So the sun and the moon were made to be signs of the times to us. And of course, there can be no greater solar and lunar signs of the season of the rapture than a total solar eclipse and a blood moon. The Bible predicts just such signs. "The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord come." Joel 2:31. And Acts 2:20 says essentially the same. As everyone knows, August 12, 2026 saw a total solar eclipse cross over parts of Iceland and Spain. And on August 28, 2026, the Americas, Europe, and Africa will all be under a partial lunar eclipse that will in places achieve 96% totality, thus appearing blood red, just as does a total lunar eclipse. Now I want to show you something that you can check out for yourself on the time and date website. The very next new moon to occur after the August 12 total solar eclipse will happen at precisely 6:27 a.m. in Jerusalem on September 11, 2026. This should be of great interest to us because 627 is the number mirroring 726, and Strong's G726 is the word harpazo, which means caught up, appearing in verses such as 1 Thessalonians 4:17. This September 11 new moon is the beginning of the next lunation. A lunation is defined to be the period from one new moon to the next. It is always several hours less than 30 days. Historically speaking, the most used numbering system for lunations is called the BLN, or Brown Lunation Number. In this system, Lunation 1 began at the first new moon of 1923, the year when Brown's lunar theory was introduced in the American Ephemeris and Nautical Almanac. The current lunation is BLN 1282. It spans from August 12 to September 11. On September 11 this year, lunation 1283 begins. Here's what I find so amazing about that. The Strong's Concordance Greek 1283 is the word diarpazo, which comes directly from the root word harpazo, G726, and means to plunder, to seize thoroughly, to snatch away. To me, all this says that we can expect to be snatched away by the Lord in the next lunation, September 11 to October 10 of this year. Furthermore, it would appear that August's total solar eclipse and blood moon foreshadow the specific days we should be most closely watching. You see, on the Hebrew calendar as commonly reckoned, the point of time in Israel exactly 30 full days after the recent solar eclipse is just a few hours into the 1st of Tishri, the first day of Feast of Trumpets as commonly reckoned this year beginning at sundown on September 11. But if you've been following my channel throughout this year, you may know that I am very impressed by the biblical case for the full moon, new moon reckoning of the Hebrew calendar. I will include a clip presenting this case at the end of this video. According to that full new moon reckoning, the point of time in Israel exactly 30 days after August's blood moon will be in the middle of the 1st of Tishri, the Hebrew date commencing Feast of Trumpets at sundown on September 26. So if the rapture does not happen shortly after sundown on September 11, you can be sure I will be closely watching for it to occur shortly after sundown on September 26. As it happens, the 1282nd lunation is the only one that will naturally contain the sun turned into darkness and the moon into blood in that order until the spring of 2033, a bit less than 7 years later. In other words, if the eclipse that we are experiencing now were not the necessary biblical sign of the pre-trib rapture immediately following in 2026, we would have to wait until the spring of 2033 for another such sign. This is a fact that anyone can confirm on the time and date website. This fact alone should have us feeling quite sure of the rapture immediately following the present August 2026 sign. But wait, there is more. We find exactly 2,421 days between the August 2026 blood moon and the April 2033 blood moon. And there are exactly 2,422 days between the August 2026 total solar eclipse and the total solar eclipse in 2033. Matthew 24:21 says, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this same time, no, nor ever shall be." And the next verse, Matthew 24:22 says, "And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened." Please note that the 2,422 days between the 2026 and 2033 solar eclipses amount to about 3 months less than 7 prophetic years. It's as if 7 years of tribulation were shortened. Okay, finally, I would like to present the case for the new full moon reckoning of biblical months. What follows goes towards showing why I will not be entirely disappointed if we pass the September 11 through 13 Feast of Trumpet reckoning, yet get raptured on the September 26 through 28 reckoning of this feast this year. If we're looking for the rapture, we should probably understand how the Bible reckons a month, right? And of course, there's two options. Either the lunar conjunction, the dark phase of the moon, begins the month, or the full moon is the beginning of the month. And in either case, the biblical term new moon would refer either to the full moon or to the lunar conjunction, depending on what we decide. And it turns out that the Bible answers this question very clearly in Psalm 81:3. Multiple versions basically say the same thing. Blow the trumpet at the time of the new moon, at the full moon, on our solemn feast day. So this is clearly one day on which you're going to blow the trumpet, and it's called both the new moon and the full moon. So that was New King James Version. ESV says blow the trumpet at the new moon, at the full moon, on our feast day. RSV says blow the trumpet at the new moon, at the full moon, on our feast day. So new moon is full moon, according to the Bible. And of course, the Bible says some things that seem to say what they don't actually mean. I get that. But we're going to look at Genesis 1, and you're going to see this again. So Genesis 1 confirms what the Bible plainly says. And on the other hand, if you're looking for a verse that says that the dark phase of the moon begins the month, there's no comparable verse that says that anywhere. Okay, so let's get to the main biblical proof that the month begins with the full moon, and that would be found in Genesis 1. There we see what God created the moon to do. He created the moon for a purpose, and that purpose was to, number one, give light on the earth, and number two, to rule the night. So, where, in relation to the sun and the earth, do you think God created the moon? He created it on the night side of the earth, when full sunlight would be illuminating the earth-facing side of the moon. He did not create the moon on the day side such that the moon would be dark, because the moon was created to give light on the earth and to rule the night. So it should be very clear that the original new moon, when God originally created it, which began the very first month, was full. And so God's perspective on what is the beginning of a month, it's a full moon.